Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, we keep chugging along, man. We've gotten a couple previews out of the way. First one in college down, first one in NFL down. So AFC West was the first one that we touched on. Of course, the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. We had to give them that honor. And the team that they are facing, or the team that I guess they beat, is in the NFC West, which is what we're doing. We thought we were going to be some news regarding a certain player on the team, but that never came through. But still, I have some interesting thoughts about that. But I'm curious your thoughts in general on the AFC and the NFC West.
I think this division has gone from like, wow, this is full of killers and this is the best division in football, to like everyone deciding that it wasn't, for like, because the AFC North is crazy, right? But this is all these teams are good. Like they're going to be good. They're going to be competitive. This is still my favorite division in football, I think.
It is nice too, because especially, I was on the East Coast for a while. So like the early games, there's like a million going on, and then the West Coast games, you can really get a hone in on these teams. That's really like this division that you want to watch. So we've gotten comfortable with these guys.
Definitely. I mean, they're on 205 every week in my house, essentially out here in Montana. It's always somebody from the West or the Packers. That's really all we get.
As a conference in general, I'm curious about this for a specific reason. Can the kind of cream rise to the top again, or does the 49ers, do they kind of fall back down to the middle, right? Because they've been riding so hot for a long time. Like even when the Rams won the Super Bowl, the 49ers were still considered the better team, right? Like it was surprising when the Rams beat them. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's been the 49ers on top for so long. And I'm wondering if they are able to take, or not if they are able to, but if they do take a step back at some point, or if they just continue to dominate.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I lean more towards the continue to dominate side of things. I think that Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. I think John Lynch is a really good GM. But it kind of goes without saying, I guess, that last year they had some really good injury luck. As far as like, this is a team that is almost consistently banged up amongst the like superstar players, and we already get the Christian McCaffrey as a pulled straight calf, and maybe that's just an excuse to not have him really have to go through camp in the preseason games, right? Look, it's a engine that you're trying to fine tune. You're not trying to teach this guy the offense. So that's what we're hoping as fans of the NFL. But they're hurt all the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I'm thinking about. Like, what do we know about the 49ers? They get really hot for a year, right? And it's, oh my God, they're competing at the top of the league, and they went to the Super Bowl last year. And then the other years, there's always like a big injury, and they fall off a cliff, right? Like that's kind of been the story of Shanahan's tenure here. And I'm wondering when that shoe is going to drop, because we know Christian McCaffrey's been extremely healthy since coming into the Bay. When he was with the Panthers the past couple of years, you're starting to get some tread on those tires. Trent Williams is not getting any younger at left tackle. Deebo Samuel, the way that he's utilized and just kind of the way he runs and the way he gets hit, he's liable to get banged up. And then Tyson, we thought Brandon Ayuk might have gotten traded by now. And by the time this comes out, maybe he does get traded. So let's just talk about that before kind of going through the rest. Like, if he gets moved, does that significantly affect the way you're viewing this team?
I don't know about significantly. I think that like it'll make them worse like immediately for sure, because Brandon Ayuk is a really good player. But I do trust Kyle Shanahan to kind of be able to backfill some of that production through Ricky Pearsall, through like a Jawan Jennings type. Like we've seen, them make pretty average players look really good for a couple week stretches. So that would be something. But I think that the 49ers honestly would prefer to like maybe add $5 million to Brandon Ayuk's contract right now, take the franchise tag off the table for next year, and then look at Deebo Samuel as the guy that you're trying to move off of, or that you're trying to shed so you can move that money to Brandon Ayuk. Because this has been the weirdest. The trade's done with the Patriots. Oh, never mind. No, it's not. The trade's done with the Steelers. No, it's not. No, it's not. Never mind. And then we get the report that the 49ers are looking for 2 first-round picks. That means we don't want to trade them. That's what NFL like general manager speak is. As soon as that gets leaked, it's like, oh, That's the 5 first-round picks for Kevin Durant in the NBA right now, right? Like that means no, we're not really interested in trading him. And we mentioned like the team's banged up and all this stuff. It's still maybe the best roster in football. Like they are just blue chippers everywhere. The defensive side of the ball is nuts. Let's see how they look. Last year, like it's weird. You're shedding defensive coordinators, like and all this stuff. And this year, I think might be a little bit of the same thing or more stability. We'll see kind of how this looks, but it's going to all come down to Brock Purdy as always, brother. That's the conversation around this team. And he looked awesome in games last year, and he looked really bad in games last year, like the Ravens game on Christmas. That was atrocious, but he bounces back and they make the Super Bowl, and he looks good doing it. Up by 10, man. I mean, they were 30 minutes away from winning the game. They just got Kansas City.
And well, the crazy thing to think about too is we view the 49ers as, man, they got Kansas City. They were in the Super Bowl. They were losing against the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
They were losing against the Lions. Like they had to have 2 miracle comebacks of their own to even get to that point. Now we're just like, oh, they were just so close to winning the Super Bowl. They're in the overtime. Well, they could have lost the first game they were playing. So it's interesting. And Purdy in the rain, that's something. As long as he has that rookie deal, this roster is going to continue to be stacked. Like we know that they're taking advantage of the rookie deal, finding a guy, Mr. Or what you may call him, the afterthought.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant. Thank you. And kind of running with that, right? But when he gets paid, I saw something, he's going to get paid $70 million a year or something like that. Like, holy smokes. You want to talk about Rome falling.
I feel like that's a made-up number based on like a cap jump that they're anticipating. What do you think? Do you think he'll slot in somewhere around like it'll be more than like what Tua just signed for? But as far as like where Tua fell in the quarterback hierarchy when he got his extension, do you think that'll be somewhere similar that Brock Purdy gets, or do you think they're going kind of the Green Bay Packers approach and being like, we're just paying our guy the most and we'll figure everything else out?
I don't know how his agent's not going to be able to swindle a big deal, right? Or swing a big deal. I mean, geez, the advanced metrics, sure. I mean, we all talk about like, oh, but the surrounding cast around them and all that stuff. I mean, you want to talk about what the agent can bring to the table here. Yeah, well, without my client, this is your record without anybody not named him or Jimmy Garoppolo or, without him, what's Shanahan's record look like? Like if he's running out with Trey Lance or if they ran with Sam Darnold, like what does this look like? Nick Mullins. So I think he's going to get paid a lot. And I think there's still about a year or two removed from having to pay him. So, they're going to have to make some hard decisions here soon. But looking at what they do, and you talked about John Lynch before, it's just a trenches factor, right? Especially on the defensive line. Like, okay, let's look at the departures. Cleveland Farrell, Randy Gregory, Chase Young. Thanks for coming, guys. You came in, did your job for the year. Eric Armstead, see ya. Sebastian Joseph, see ya. Javon Kinlaw, all out. Okay, so how do we replace that? Let's go get Leonard Floyd. Let's go get your Turgros Matos. Let's grab Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, all on the inside, all guys with experience, all people who can come in and play that mercenary role and impact this defense. Steve Wilkes being gone. People are thinking that's going to be an upgrade, right? Like he just never
confusing. Fit. We don't know.
I think there's a lot of people are thinking like, okay, it's an internal guy, somebody who's been with Shanahan. All right, this is going to be run more smoothly. Like it felt like, with Wilkes gone, he was trying to do some stuff that his philosophy is, and it's not been the philosophy of the 49ers in the past. Like if this guy gets promoted, can come in and take over this role and immediately look like a star, like some of their past defensive coordinators have been, this defense is going to be really good again. If there's growing pains and it just doesn't look the same, I think there's a chance that the 49ers can get caught a little bit in this division.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Fred Warner has been making head coaches in the NFL. Basically, he is a factory. We talk about the Andy Reid coaching tree, but Fred Warner and that defense have pumped out 2 head coaches. That might be 3 in a year from now.
Let's get into the Los Angeles Rams. Just, my goodness, Sean McVay, what a stud, man. He's unbelievable. It's just to do everybody thought they were going to be like a top 5 pick last year to make the playoffs. I mean, it just continues to just be incredible as a head coach. You lose Aaron Donald. How does that affect this defense? They hit on their picks last year, where this defensive line all of a sudden looked like one of the best in the league with some of their young guys. So losing Aaron Donald, how does that impact it? We'll see. But they clearly had a focus on drafting interior defensive linemen and edge rushers to fill the void that Donald is going to leave behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best players in the history of the NFL. You're not going to just be able to replace him in an offseason or probably a lifetime, right? Like, no matter who you bring in, they could have got Chris Jones and it would have been a downgrade, right? And that's a tough spot to be in. I think that last year we were all kind of like, I don't know what this Rams team is going to look like. This year I'm feeling similarly, having the knowledge of like how stupid I looked last season and what Sean McVay was able to do. We've already heard the Puka Nacua calf injury or hamstring injury, and the language out of Sean McVay's mouth every time is like day to day, week to week, we're going to monitor this thing. We were monitoring Cooper Kupp's injury all the way through week 8 last year, right? And so that makes you a little nervous because Puka Nacua obviously just had the best season of a rookie wide receiver ever. This offense is probably going to be fine. Like, Kyron Williams has to take a step back. There's just no way that's who he's going to be again. He had a phenomenal season. They bring in Blake Corum, who can fill essentially the exact same role when you need. We've seen Sean McVay bring Darrell Henderson back off the street and look like a decent NFL player. So I'm not worried about the run game. Never worried about Matthew Stafford. I think you and I are simpatico in that always. But it does feel maybe for the first time just a little devoid of the top end talent. Like, we know about Ramsey and some of these guys on that defense, but 99 is not there anchoring them, and it's going to be really hard to kind of overcome losing him.
Yeah, and, well, they shipped Ramsey over to the South Beach.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
That goes to the point I wanted to make, though, Tyson, because it's kind of crazy to think that they're moving away from those guys that won the Super Bowl, because for so long it was, F them picks, right? Like, wow, let's just get the established guys.
But he started nailing picks, and it was
then he started nailing picks. Right. And then now he's all into it. But in the meantime, they'll take a shot on Tre'Davious White, right? Like, okay, let's bring him in. Let's bring a veteran guy in. Darius Williams, let's bring him in. All right, let's bolster the secondary. Here's something I'm keeping an eye on. This offensive line, you got to keep Matt Stafford healthy at this point. So they go and get better on the interior. Kevin Dotson, they give him a big deal. Jonah Jackson, they give him a big deal at their offensive guard positions. Other than that, I'm looking at this, like, who they lost and kind of piecing together, pointing together. If there's anybody big that departed, and not really. Jordan Fuller, okay. Jonah Williams, all right. But for the most part, this is a very young group that's coming back who got experience last year in a season that many thought that the Rams aren't going to do well, and they overachieved. So this is a bright future for the Rams. I think they probably have to figure out the quarterback situation soon, but as long as Matt Stafford is upright and healthy, and Cooper Kupp, apparently he's looking good. He's ready to be back and make a statement. Man, that is a scary thought.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of in a vulnerable spot here, though, with the next two teams that we're going to talk about in this conference. I think that there is some potential for some steps forward to be made by both the Seahawks and the Cardinals.
And let's get into the Seahawks now, because Geno Smith, I don't know how this happened, but he turned into everybody's darling for a while, right? Like, oh my God, he's made some of the best throws in the NFL this season. This is unbelievable. And I thought he took a step back last year, and that's to be expected. He was riding hot, and whatever his stupid saying was, where he got written off and he right back, or whatever it was. Okay. They traded for Sam Howell.
You hate that.
I was just like, what? It doesn't make any sense. But they traded for Sam Howell, and that was an interesting one to me. Like, is he the person who's, the contingency planner? Is he the heir apparent because they lost Drew Lock? Sam Howell, he had some moments with the Commanders, but is he going to be the guy who takes over? They get back Noah Fant, Pharaoh Brown, they bring in Laviska Shenault, your boy, they bring in, but I don't know. Like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Seahawks. I'm pretty mediocre on them, besides the fact they brought in Mike Macdonald, and this is a new era.
I think that's it. I think you said it. I think it's Mike Macdonald. And I think it's interesting to me that Pete Carroll and some of the guys that he's brought in, they're going to fit perfectly. Like, we're hearing every day, you guys have to see Kenneth Walker. And he looks like Adrian Peterson now. I don't know if you've seen any photos of him, but holy smokes, dude, we're in for a treat. He might go for 2K this season. I think that the receiving core is going to be really good. One of the things I'm more excited about with the Seahawks team is, like, you bring in Grubb, right? Like, this is you're bringing in a guy who was crazy at Washington a year ago, calling plays, and we can kind of almost envision DK Metcalf in the Rome Odunze role, right? We can see Jackson Smith and Jigba doing the Jalen Polk and the Jalen McMillan things, but they're not going to be married to Tyler Lockett like we've seen in the past. And some of this weird loyalty again that we've seen from Pete Carroll, I think the defense is going to be just fine. Like you're bringing in a defensive head coach who's shown that, he's one of the best defensive minds in football. So let's see what this offense can look like. Maybe it feels like we're going to take the governor off this bad boy and see how fast we can go.
Yeah, I'll be curious because this wide receiver group should be one of the best in the league. I mean, Tyler Lockett at this point in his career, based on his age, probably going to take a little bit of a step back. But then Jackson Smith and Jigba, like you mentioned, should take that step forward in the second year. And DK Metcalf, I mean, when he's not fighting teammates, I don't know if you saw that report out of camp, but man, he's ready for the season to start.
Time, brother.
Oh my God, it's always him. But I want to believe in it because I love Mike Macdonald. And I guess to be fair and to your point, the defense should be fine, right? Like it should. It seems like it's a defensive scheme that you can come in and he can implement immediately and they can hit the ground running. Like it's not like a Vic Fangio style where, oh my God, there's a million different options off one thing and you can get confused and you got to think through it. Like this is just, okay, we're going to have you in this position and this is how you react to this. Boom. And you go play. So if that's the case, then sure, I think the floor is raised on the Seahawks team. The ceiling is only as high as what this offense can accomplish. Ryan Grubb, you mentioned being the offensive coordinator. I want to see how he looks. They had better talent at Washington than the majority of the people they're playing with. I mean, just look at the draft picks that they had. So when the windows are tighter, when he has to out scheme and really get people open against NFL level defense, does that translate? But with Mike Macdonald here, I think the future is bright. It's just, can you figure out the quarterback situation? Because Geno Smith isn't the answer to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but I think we were a little bit too high on Sam Howell as the two of us personally a year ago. I think I was looking back through some of those games the other day and was like, oh yikes! I don't know, why do we like this guy so much?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. Arizona Cardinals, one of the most fascinating teams in the league for me. I'm excited about the Arizona Cardinals this year, and I can't believe I'm saying that. And Johnny Gans, our guy, got the Eagle sting on the back of mine. Tyson's got the Dawkins jersey. We're Eagles fans. Jonathan Gannon,
a lot of people in the 49ers section. They knew, even if it's audio, they're like, these guys.
A lot of people in Philadelphia feel like that Jonathan Gannon cost the Eagles their second Super Bowl. I fall in line with that camp. It's a very conservative defense. But what he did last year with the Cardinals, man, I got to give him his flowers. That was impressive, about as impressive as we could see.
It was like you go from you're shooting lasers and he's like pew 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 in the meeting rooms with these guys to they're getting like noticeably better as the season goes on, and like they're not rolling over, which was that's always a telltale sign, right? Like you got a lame duck head coach if the team is kind of giving up on him. There was no quit in the Arizona Cardinals a year ago. You have Kyler Murray, who, depending on like which website you're looking at, he might be the 7th best quarterback in the NFL. He might be the 15th. One thing I know is Kyler Murray can play, and I think his body language sucks, and he's not the best leader, and we talk about that sometimes. But he's never played with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm really excited to see what that looks like. And Trey McBride and taking a massive step forward a year ago. You have James Conner, who we know what we're going to get out of, and then you bring in Trey Benson. I think this offense has some pretty fun options for it, and then much similar to Seattle. Weirdly enough, I think that Jonathan Gannon is one of those guys where the defense is going to be fine.
I know
it sucks.
I don't think the ceiling is high on the defense, but the floor is very high. They're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to make mistakes. So you're going to be able to move the ball, but at a certain point is the offense going to make a mistake. Like you're going to be able to get that big sack, or then, oh man, now it's 3rd and long, and you get off the field and you turn it over to Kyler Murray. And man, if he's locked in and if he's feeling good, he is special when he has the ball in his hands. It's just, is he going to be locked in for 17 games? Is this offense going to be good enough for 17 games? Because they're going to have to win the games here. For all the thing about Jonathan Gannon, like this it's not a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It's not a Cleveland Browns defense where they can win you football games. Like go out and just wreak havoc.
Weird Jim Schwartz. It's a must. You complete 100 passes on this drive, and we're just waiting for you to throw one pick.
Right, or you make one bobble, and it's just right. And so we talked about the League Pass team on the AFC West episode. I think the Arizona Cardinals got to be up there.
Absolutely. And we're like, just to remind everybody, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been like crowned as the guy for the last 2 years, and he gets to walk into a franchise quarterback in a way that Jamar Chase maybe didn't when he was coming in. Like Joe Burrow obviously became Joe Burrow, but that was like chicken and the egg situation, right? And then like Justin Jefferson's crazy rookie season, he didn't have Kyler Murray. Puka Nacua a year ago against Matt Stafford. I think that we might have to pump the brakes a little bit, folks. Is all I'm trying to say on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that he's going to be really good. But if he puts up 1,000 yards, people are going to be like, well, hell, I wanted 1,400.
Yeah, he's got a lot of expectations on his shoulders. That's for sure. But the Arizona Cardinals, man, it's looking up. We'll see if Johnny Gans can keep the momentum going, though. That's what we got to see. Maybe the finger pistol is, that might run a little thin.
You feel that in your belly? You feel that fire?
Okay, let's put a bow here on the NFC West. Where do you stand right now? And again, if you're just tuning in, we're going to do our betting episode later, through preseason, kind of right before. I know, we'll get to it when we get to that. But how are you feeling right now about where the NFC East is? I know you're confident that they can get back to being one of the best conferences.
Yeah, I think the NFC West is awesome. I think San Francisco, as I'm sitting here right now, is probably going to they should be the class of the NFC again. And so you go from there. I think Seattle will take a step forward. I think Arizona is going to take a step forward. Maybe 3 teams in this conference have winning records, and I think the 4th is going to be pretty close. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think San Francisco separates themselves probably early in the season, and then it's like, oh, they're up by 3 games with 5 games left or whatever. But that's just because they have 12 wins and everybody else has 9.
I'm going to say this. San Francisco's not going to win the division.
Ooh, now they know for sure you're an Eagles fan.
I don't think they're going to win the division. I'm contemplating which team I'm going to take in our picks episode. Without being facetious here, I'm just expecting some regression injury-wise for the 49ers. Potentially even play-wise for Brock Purdy. Just more tape, more reps, more things. And if they do trade Ayuk, I don't necessarily know that I'm like, oh, they're horrible now, but it is something. He's their outside receiver, and he does things that Debo can't, being like a true wide receiver. So I think that'll impact things. And, for the Rams, what does it look like without Aaron Donald? That's a leader. That's a guy in the locker room who leads men, leads the unit. Does the defense take a step back? I think the offense is going to be better, which is hard to imagine with Kyron Williams. He's a little banged up, but you bring in a 2-headed monster with Blake Corum, who I expect to be really good out of the bat. And the Arizona Cardinals, man, this offense, I'm excited to see. This is what I want to watch. And then on the defensive side for the Seahawks, that's where I have my eye. Like, how fast does it get clicking for Mike McDonald up in the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, it's going to be fun, folks. And this is the first of these, or the second now of these episodes. We got 6 more left, and we got like a week to do it. It feels like.
They're coming hot and heavy because we got preseason going on. So, like Tyson said, we got a lot coming. So, subscribe, and share the show. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button on the way out. If you're listening in podcast form, give us a 5-star review if you haven't already. And again, get subscribed to us, whether you're listening or whether you're watching, because we're going to have a ton of content that we're rolling out here now that it's football season. Like, we had a busy schedule last year. We're going to have a lot more for you this year too. So stay tuned with us on this journey through the college and NFL football seasons. And next week, we're back in action for the college side, previewing the Big 12, which should be an interesting conference. And then we'll also hit another AFC team and another NFC team. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good weekend. Peace.